afternoon and welcome to the first episode of Supply Chain Talk for 2023. This afternoon we're going to be focusing on AI-powered driver safety and how that can protect both employees and your profitability as companies operating fleets. And I'll be joined as usual by 4 guests. As a reminder of the format, we'll start by discussing a topical news item and then we'll move on to the main discussion topic. And we always welcome your contributions and questions, so please do use the chat panel, question panel on your screens to do that. And we continue to be awarding a Supply Chain Talk mug to the contribution that we find most useful this afternoon. And we'll try to refer to as many of the contributions as we can, but equally they're valuable for all of you in the audience to be able to see. So without further ado, let me bring on my guests. So first of all, we have Nanda Kishore, who is head of global supply chain at Eramet Titanium and Iron AS. Nanda's worked across heavy engineering, automotive, marine and renewable energy sectors, and he's an expert in lean manufacturing, quality management, and also the Internet of Things. And he's currently implementing AI-based solutions for pedestrian and employee safety, so it'll be interesting to hear some of that perspective. My second guest is Thomas Becker, who's a sales engineer for enterprise at Samsara. He covers Samsara's enterprise business in the German-speaking DACH territory and has done that for the past 4 years. And before that, he's had various other pre-sales roles in IT. Thirdly, we have Florian Wesch, who is head of IT at Dittmeier Insurance Broker, and they are leaders particularly in bus insurance in Germany. And Florian actually started implementing dashcam solutions into buses back in 2010, and Dietmeier now has 250 customers equipped with dashcams, in fact, Samsara dashcams. So it's a great reminder that this technology isn't necessarily new in its first versions, but has obviously moved on a lot since then. And our final guest is Adam Warren, who's fleet consultant at Samsara. He's a veteran with 2 decades of experience in telematics, and he's been designing and delivering driver safety programs during that time, working with some of the UK and Europe's largest fleets. So we have a very expert and diverse panel to join us. So welcome all of you. So let's now look at the article, which is from the slightly unusually named website No Camels, which focuses on Israeli innovation. And it's about an Israeli startup that allows more vehicles to be controlled by a single person. So this is about autonomous vehicles, which, though being autonomous, do need a little bit of human and manual intervention when they experience situations that they're unsure of. And traditionally, the article mentions that the golden ratio has been 1 human operator for every 10 autonomous vehicles. And this Autopia software can apparently enable 1 human operator for every 100 or even hundreds or even thousands of AVs, automatic vehicles, autonomous vehicles. So clearly that could be a really sort of massive breakthrough in the sort of benefits and cost effectiveness of autonomous vehicles to have that human control much more effectively. So Nanda, sort of turning to you first, do you think, given that you're often operating in sites which are basically not public roads, so you've got autonomous vehicles away from the public, do you think there's a particular benefit of driverless vehicles in that sort of environment?
I think so. I think this is a very good opportunity to implement autonomous vehicle traffic. But the fact also is that we are not, I think in our industry, we are not ready yet for that. So we have a way to go. So there is plenty of opportunity for us to get there. So right now we are, in my own company, we are trying to implement a kind of artificial intelligence driven alert and sensors for the vehicle drivers of off-highway vehicles. So I think this concept is quite interesting, but we should not forget that we are just moving the risk from the driver to a central person. So with this, so again, we are depending on that central person to be able to react quickly and have all the answers ready based on technology, and technology can fail. So technology can be, I'm a bit scared about cybersecurity issues or technology failing, and somebody calls up and his technology fails, so he cannot answer, the person cannot. So in a closed environment within a factory site, that would be catastrophic for any industry.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have to think of those risks, but this is a good concept. So the intention is very good behind this concept. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think our industry is to prepare to get there.
Yes, absolutely. No, thank you, Nanda. It's interesting, pointing out some of those communications and security issues that need to be dealt with as well. Thomas, turning to you, I mean, obviously, driverless vehicles aren't necessarily Samsara's market, because you want drivers who need assistance. But what do you feel is there a big potential for driverless vehicles with this autonomous, with this human control remotely as well?
I mean, obviously, the potential of driverless cars is huge. But even though I'm a technical person in SE, and we're usually always looking at the newest technologies, I still think there's a very, very long road to go down to. As an example, in Germany, the government just allowed autonomous driving on autobahns up to 130 kilometers an hour. So that's a very narrow field, right? Which is still very challenging for a lot of vendors. But to get to like the daily and the really difficult situations in cities is a really long way to go down. And I think I wouldn't bet on 5 years, 10 years, but it's an exciting technology. But until then, we need to make sure that we make the roads safer with what we have, right? Yeah,
thank you. And Florian, I think with your insurance sort of perspective, it'd be very interesting to think about what are the insurance or liability implications of this? I mean, in that situation, is the autonomous vehicle manufacturer liable if something goes wrong? Is the controller going to be liable? Is the Autopia software going to be liable? It's kind of, there's so many different sort of points there. So it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, that's a real an interesting field, because as you said, we have different points, like the software, like the hardware, or is it the manufacturer of the car? So this is really difficult for the insurance questions, but the insurance market in Germany is ready for that. So the insurers are, they know how to handle it, and we have it in our products. The main problem is, like Thomas said, we have in Germany, we are very reserved and cautious about the technique in the cars and autonomous driving. But we are on the right way, I think, because till the last year, it was a fact that in Germany you can the assistant driving, I would say, the half autonomous driving, we had only till a few kilometers per hour, which is okay. But this year, the regulation is turning, and we can also autonomous drive till 130 hours, 130 kilometers per hour, and this is in Germany it's not so fast. in all other countries it's I think really fast, and so we are on the right way for that. But it's a main thing for the vehicle manufacturers. So the insurance is ready for that, and it's no problem, but the manufacturers have to release it and to certify it.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. And Adam, I mean, from the UK perspective, I mean, we certainly seem to be a long way from being able to have autonomous vehicles allowed on the roads. What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I think that the fellow panelists have kind of covered quite a lot of pieces. But I think from the article is quite interesting that there's still human intervention required, and they're talking about immediate assistance required, and it's like, well, what is that? How immediate is that immediate assistance? If something's going to happen, it's going to be too late, possibly too late. I think Thomas summed it up. We are a way off, a long way off. It's coming, but not for a long, long time.
Yeah.
In my short summary. That's yeah.
Okay, yeah, it is an interesting point. You're right. The article doesn't really make it clear what the Utopia software can do, because, as you say, if the idea is you're supervising 100 vehicles and one of them suddenly is coming into a really dangerous situation, it's foggy, there's no light or whatever, how on earth is a remote operator meant to intervene really quickly? You can understand it in shipping or something like that, which is just a little bit more time before things have to happen, but in this case it's an unusual one. Nanda, sort of back to you. I mean, again, in general, so we were talking a little bit about the potential for driverless vehicles with supervision off public roads, but in your markets, do you think there's potential, even if it's in a limited way, like on the autobahns in Germany? Is there potential for it to start in a focused way, or really is the road network challenging wherever you are?
I think in our industry, it's still a long way to go in terms of using this. But however, in our industry, we also deploy autonomous vehicles, not the ones driven by people behind. So there is possibility to man those autonomous vehicles, which go deep inside the mines to excavate minerals, etc., when they are in a far off remote areas. So there's possibility to use that, but it's again we are making somebody responsible for that, right? So in terms of taking care, so when it comes to commercial and the legal discussions, so who is the one who takes the who takes the responsibility for claims management? Is it the software provider? Is it the hardware supplier? Or is it the one person sitting there and he just couldn't blink it? Or he just blinked in 10 seconds, something happened. So when we think of, okay, we want to make the employees safe, we also don't want to overdo things by getting that confidence out of them to say, okay, I am safe because somebody else is responsible for my safety. So the no insurance or no claims management can support that belief. That's my personal feeling. But however, I have one additional comment. It may not be pertaining to land transport, but there is a big trend in the marine market in terms of electrifying the boats and the ferries for the short runs, and then they need to be charged. So if it's not between two places, and we are talking about multiple places, so this is a good software which can be implemented there, so these guys can know when is the nearest charging point. So so they can quickly go there, charge themselves. So that can be. I know things are already happening in that area, because I also have experience in my former job from that electric-driven marine sector.
Yeah. Okay.
There is tremendous progress in those areas.
Yeah.
I'm sure Florian must have already heard of these things in insurance market.
Okay, that does bring an interesting sort of kind of point, doesn't it, in terms of the sort of autonomous vehicles and so on, and it is thinking about, actually, are there certain things, when trucks or buses are parked up at night and in the future where they need charging and so on, you may need to be just moving them around a bit, and actually that's a very different environment to the public roads with all the uncertainty. So I mean, Thomas, is Samsara looking at all into how Samsara's solutions can support driverless vehicles as well as ones with drivers, or is that top secret and not even on the agenda?
I want to say that's probably about my pay grade, but no, seriously. I mean, as we already established, there's still a very long way to go for those things to come up. So what we're focusing on right now is basically providing a platform with a safety platform, which you can use no matter where. So right now, obviously, most trucks already have assistance systems, right? So you have things like adaptive braking assistance, lane departure systems, and almost every customer I've talked to in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they all order the whole package because they want to give the driver the best assistance possible. But even with those assistants, usually the fleet manager doesn't know, are they actually using those systems? Are they all those systems are different in the different make and models? So we provide a platform to actually look into the usage or into the driving behavior, regardless of those systems. And we build one common platform over all brands. So I could definitely also see a future where you have vehicles with autonomous driving functions for certain situations. Let's say I pull off the Autobahn, I go into brake or whatever, or I need to park somewhere. And that can definitely be something where we can also be in the vehicle for all those other situations that are not autonomous, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you very much, Thomas. Let's move on now to the main topic, which, as a reminder, is AI-powered driver safety to protect both your employees and your profitability. And I'll just jump, Florian, I'll just jump to Adam perhaps first of all. So the kind of first thing is about maintaining logistics safety with proactive accident management. But I think it'd be maybe really useful for the audience to understand what does a sort of proactive AI-based system do compared to more traditional ones. And Adam, with your long experience in this field, it'd be really interesting to get a short explanation of what is proactive AI in this field.
Sure. So I think I'll try and keep this quite summarized and short. But yeah, proactive AI safety programs will intervene or notify the driver and the organization that there's an unsafe behavior or an event in the vehicle that requires investigation. And then, as I say, intervenes with the driver in the vehicle in real time. So, for instance, I get into my car, I set off, I don't put my seatbelt on. The AI from our solution will pick up that I'm not wearing my seatbelt, as well as the bings in the car, and say, Adam's not wearing, put your seatbelt on. So that's one example where we see or have seen previously lots of fleets where people will try and get around wearing seatbelts. There's different ways of doing that by plugging the seatbelt in. We get around, or proactive AI gets around that by monitoring the seatbelt usage. We can look at following distances as well. So tell the driver to increase their following distance, reduce their speed. So all these interventions that improve the road safety and prevent an incident from happening. Whereas traditional driver safety programs would look at a scoring system, which is included with proactive, and then historically kind of review, so reactive. So these are the things that have happened. This driver, Thomas, has been driving. He's had 4 harsh brakes, 6 speeding events. So you may not get to speak to that driver for 2-3 weeks after that particular event. So if you're intervening in real time, talking to the driver in the vehicle, that's really powerful and changes the behavior straight away.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. That's a great explanation. And sort of Florian, perhaps turning to you, because we mentioned in your introduction that you've been, I guess, working with some of these solutions, dash cam solutions, at least, for 12, 13 years now. So are you seeing a really big difference in terms of, because I guess you directly will see the insurance claims and the accident rates and so on. So are you seeing some big differences as we move to these more advanced solutions?
I would say yes. I think the main key is to include the newer technologies in the classic ones. So we, as the insurance broker, we handle the claims. We do the claim management for our customers, and so we have, I would say, around about 11,000 bus claims a year, which we handle in our house, and we know very good the claim history of our drivers, or the drivers of our customers, for sure. And so we can say which of the driver has which claims and where are the problems of this driver. But now with the new technology, it's the main thing to get the driver data and the scoring of the driver in one rating with the claims history. And so we can add claims history and driver scoring, and we can do very much better risk management than before. And as a result of this, we can special coach the drivers at their weak points. We can assist them, and so it's possible to decrease the amount of claims. And this is for sure the main problem, because I think it's the same in the UK. In Germany, we have far too few drivers, and so it's very important to assist the drivers and to make them better, because if you kick a driver, then you have no new one.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really interesting perspective. And Nanda, be interesting then to sort of get your experience here, because you mentioned how you were bringing in an AI based or an AI supported system to deal with safety of drivers and pedestrians on your sites. So do you want to comment a little bit about how the AI is working there?
Yes, so I want to quote from our article which we presented. So, in the initial stages, it says full autonomy is impossible. So, when we talk about artificial intelligence driving driver safety or pedestrian safety or employee safety, and we say that we use it for proactively reducing the accidents. So, that's the challenge. So, all the proactiveness comes from past historic data.
Mm.
So in a closed environment, when we are talking about off-highway vehicles like forklifts, trucks, dumpers, loaders, excavators in large mines, so the past data is not always relevant for futuristic. So any changes can happen. Anybody can come from a blind corner. Anything be stopped, and the truck can change its directions. So where we are is what I can quote Thomas when he was talking about assist. So we are trying to use artificial intelligence to assist the driver to give us as real time as possible alerts on the blind spots he or she can encounter while doing the internal logistics. So we cannot expect, we cannot predict where the employee can come from this side or that side, whatever is the reason. And when they are coming with a load of about 5 ton, 10 ton, 20 tons of material, even with a speed of about 5 to 6 miles per hour, it's a big impact when somebody gets hit by those vehicles. So we are trying to aim and arm the drivers as much with alerts possible on all the blind spots. So then he or she can be vigilant. Okay, there is somebody coming this way, so I can be more alert. That's one thing. But we have seen that using this solution, we can also map the what we call as the heat map. So if as an example, not only the sensors on the vehicles, if each of the employees having the PPE equipment, so if they are having a sensor on their helmets, for example, and then we can track the people to an extent. When we need to evacuate somebody, we can already know where is the cluster of people, or if we are in an emergency situation, we can go and reach out for help. Okay, there's some people there because we can see there is a heat map of people there.
Okay, thank you, Nanda.
This is very useful. So we are going in those directions.
Yeah. Okay. That's again interesting to think about the sorts of things you can do in a more controlled environment where you can have the solution and the equipment for as part of that solution can be not just the drivers and vehicles, but also the pedestrians as well. Thomas, I guess just one sort of aspect of the solution which might be interesting to touch on. I think we talked about it yesterday a little bit when we met. Is on the technical side. Are there some big data privacy issues? Because you've got a lot of cameras pointing at the driver, pointing at people out in the street. Kind of how do you deal with that sort of thing in the German market?
Well, yeah, as you say, in the German market, we probably face those hurdles maybe a bit more often. At least I have the feeling when I sometimes talk to my UK colleagues. Generally speaking, we're subject to the same laws like other private data, right? So overall in Europe, we have the GDPR framework. In Germany, it's called DSGVO, which is basically what came out of that, or which enforces this in Germany. So we're more or less subject to the same rules. So to the same kind of 5 principles, like I need to minimize the data that I'm collecting. I need to have a business intent, and a few other ones. So with the platform, we give the customer the option or the capabilities to make sure that those principles are taken care of. but ultimately it's also important that the customer implements the processes, right? So we can give them the option. We also support them, but they also need to do their work. And generally speaking, if we take care of that, we also have a few nice additional data privacy functionalities like blurring faces, blurring license plates, which actually reduces the burden on the data privacy a little bit. So this way we can take care of it. But it's always a discussion that we have with the customer. And therefore it's really important, if you want to roll out a system like this, a safety program, a dashcam, an AI dashcam system, you need to make sure that all parties are on board from the get-go, that you have your data privacy officer on board, that you have IT on board, that you have your workers' council on board, and that you also have the drivers on board. Because I wouldn't like just waking up one morning and all of a sudden having a camera pointing at me and not knowing what it does. That's really what's most important.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. So it's a consideration there. Let's move on to the second question now, which is about protecting the employees at the moments that matter with real-time alerts. I think we've talked a little bit about the way that it can alert, if they're getting too close to a vehicle or whatever, if they haven't put their seatbelt on. But I guess the sort of, when something happens, I know that can be very beneficial, that you've got a lot of material, you've got a lot of film and so on, footage and so on of what's been going on. So perhaps, Florian, sort of turning to you first, when it comes to the claims process, how does that help all the parties involved in that claims process?
Yeah, I think this is important for every party in the process, because if you have an accident with a bigger vehicle like a bus or a truck, then you always discuss about the liability of this accident. And you have a real big problem with a bigger vehicle to get out of it. And so for the company, for our customers, it's really important to have the videos and to have the dash cam, to get out of it and to get the money from the other party. So for our companies, it's real important, and we have really a lot of these claims where the customer is have no chance without a dash cam, and this is the problem for that. The second thing is for the employees. The driver has also the police is coming to the driver and says, okay, you're guilty, and now you have to pay for that, or we get your driver license or something like that. So it's important for this one. And of course, the insurance is also, in fact, if the driver is guilty and the liability is clear, but the driver always says, "Oh, that's not my fault," and if we get the video and can clarify that, then you can handle this accident much more cheaper, as you have to discuss it.
Okay, no, thank you. That's a really good explanation. And Adam, in terms of the driver themselves, I think again we were sort of touching on this in our earlier discussions. That for the driver, it can be a real reassurance that they know. Hopefully they've been driving safely, and it's just one of those accidents that happen, because let's face it, professional drivers are hopefully normally that much more experienced and safe than the regular public. But in that situation, how does the whole system help them then?
Absolutely. So there's, as Florian's kind of covered, we've got that footage, so we've captured that footage, and we can show how that driver behavior, or how that driver has been behaving on the road, that they're not distracted, they're not using a mobile phone, and that they were concentrating and driving as expected. So within a few seconds, that footage is in the hands of whoever. I think if you are driving a HGV in the UK and you have an incident, the first thing that happens is the phone will go. There'll be some investigation if it's not clear cut. So there's then stress for the driver over that investigation period. What's happening? Are they then able to drive? Are they being suspended from driving? How the organisation manages that driver and that investigation. With Samsara, you've got that information within 30 seconds of the incident happening. So straight away you can exonerate the driver from any 50-50 claims maybe, or any outliers. It's the evidence is there, and it can even be provided to the driver whilst at the incident as well, so it can be showed to the police if the police are involved, or the authorities, so straight away they can see what's happened. So yeah, I think it's reassurance that there's exoneration. We've got examples of that with some of our larger organizations where drivers are now asking for systems to be installed, and it's changed from Big Brother into an assistance tool for the organization and the driver as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. And Nanda, sort of picking up on that point that Adam made about sort of the potential that employees think of all this as Big Brother. I mean, as you said, you're working on implementing a sort of AI behavioural solution at the moment. Are they mostly welcoming, or are you seeing issues where they feel it's intrusion and they know best how to do things and they don't want cameras and sensors and so on? What sort of reaction are you getting?
It's a mixed reaction. So we are what we call as a beta stage. So we have done a pilot study. So we are now in a beta stage with different sites trying this out. And for us, safety of employees is the utmost important thing for us. And we own a fleet of off-highway vehicles within, and we work inside the boundary of the factory. So the one who's driving the vehicle and the pedestrian, both are our employees. So there is nothing between the driver versus the other guy. So it is both versus the technology actually. So we cannot look to, okay, this is the driver's fault because he's our employee. So we need to make sure that the driver is protected well enough and trained well enough, and also the employees are protected. So we are looking to, we have been having a good track record of 0 accidents so far in so many years. So in order to continue, our concept and philosophy is to use this artificial intelligence to make life easier for the employees, be it the driver or the pedestrians, by giving them more warnings and making them aware that, okay, there could be something wrong. We take care with beeps and photos. But then we might encounter a situation in the near future when it comes to data protection. So the more we start capturing the data from dash cameras and other cameras, so we are taking the data information, and then the storage of that and the usage of that is going to be a question for us. And these vehicles, they have no support or approval from the regulatory authorities like the passenger vehicles, where we can have this autonomous software installed. So that's that's one of the challenges for us. So we need to do it within a very narrow boundary of regulations, and to make sure the employees are safeguarded. So I think this is one of the pioneering attempt in our industry, what we are doing.
Yeah.
To take the level up, to make sure the employees should feel safe, not worry, okay, this something might increase my burden or increase my focus, or might burden, strain my concentration. So we are trying to balance that versus the improvement of the safety.
Okay, thank you, Nanda. And Thomas, so just turning, if we just go back to the claim sort of area, and we were talking about how it can provide evidence of what's happened. Do you also find with your customers and so on that it can show what hasn't happened? I certainly know in fleets I've been involved in the past that you can basically get false claims, whether intentionally false or a misunderstanding, where they say, oh, your lorry smashed up my car, I'm claiming £10,000 off you, thank you very much, and actually your lorries were nowhere near that area. But to prove that is not always easy if the customer, if the member of the public swears blind that it was your vehicle that did it. So do you see, is it reducing claims in that way as well, the false claims?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And funny enough, we actually had a discussion with Florian about that last year. And yeah, absolutely. Because the matter of fact, the truck is the more dangerous vehicle, right? It is bigger, it is heavier, it has more force, so potentially it is more dangerous than the passenger vehicle. So ultimately, if there's no ultimate proof like a dash cam, the driver of the truck will always at least has a part of the fault. Like that's what the police will default to. So, and unfortunately, not everybody is honest, and we've definitely seen, and Florian can probably also elaborate on that, we've definitely seen occasions where passenger vehicles clearly cut, for example, the truck, something was damaged on both vehicles, and the passenger vehicle driver claimed, hey, it was a truck that came into my lane and not the other way around, but the dash cam could clearly prove otherwise. So unfortunately, that's the case, yes, and it reduces those claims as well.
No, that's another major benefit.
Is it okay, Alistair, if I add one small fact to this?
Please, yeah, do, yeah.
Because it's we have one other thing special at the passenger transit. With our buses, we have very often the problem, not only as Thomas said with the truck, we always or we very often have the case that we have hit and runs, but without the hit. So we have cars crossing the lane of the bus. The bus driver is stopping and harsh braking. There's no collision with the car, but we have fallen passengers in the bus.
Right. Okay.
And this is a difference to a truck. In the truck, you have your goods in the truck, but you have people, you have passengers in the bus. And if a passenger is fallen in the bus, then you are liable for that.
Yeah.
And but if there's no collision, the car is away, and you're not able to drive after him, and you get the license plate, and you have to write it down, and this is a very special thing at passenger transit, and there's the dash cam also very important.
Okay, so in that case, can the dash cam, is the dash cam sufficient evidence to say this car dangerously got much too close to the bus was driving safely but had to brake sharply, and are you able to then go after the car driver for the injuries caused, or is that you give this case to the police, and the police is responsible for finding the car holder, the person, and so you can make him liable for that. And we really have this case very often at our claims management. Okay, that's really interesting. That does move things to another dimension of near misses. Still, people are still liable for near misses, even if the commercial driver, through his skill, avoided an accident. That's another interesting point. Thank you. Let's move to our third area, which is the bullet point says reducing accidents by empowering drivers to build safe habits. So I guess, so moving away from the claims and so on, ultimately, we don't want accidents, we want safe drivers. But perhaps Adam, moving to you first on that one. I mean, so I guess, the systems help achieve that in a big way, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. From the real-time coaching as well, so you've got that instant information, but also programs around that as well. So sharing the data. So I think it's important to share the data with the drivers, what's being collected, and give feedback on that as well. But what's really important is the recognition of good driving behaviors as well. So there will be times you have to harsh brake and maybe swerve and create these events that means you are avoiding an accident. I think traditionally, if it's on just a score on a report, there's no evidence to back that up for the driver as well, to say, well, somebody walked out at me or a deer ran across the road. So having that evidence as part of that system as well, to show good driving, and then gamification of the scoring as well. So how do I sit amongst my peers? Bringing in rewards, so benefits for not just drivers but depots as well. So looking at by a change in behavior or decreasing score, and if you like, or number of events for a particular depot, and the fuel and the benefits that are associated with that. So the fuel savings and reduced maintenance costs. That depot has a pot of, they have a meal out, or you create competition within the organization as well. So there's lots of things you can do with the data and the information that comes in, but I think one key thing to say is to share that with the drivers as well. So it's not just you've done this, it's oh look, this is what's been recorded, this was really good, this is what we can improve on.
Yeah, okay. Nando, I mean, again, in your environments, how have you tended to go about driver behavior programs to make drivers safer before now?
So for us, the key thing is empowerment. So empowerment for us in our company is hearing the voice. The voices need to be heard. And I'm proud to say most of the inputs for implementing this new solution we are across our group has come from our drivers. So they came back with a lot of inputs once they realized that this will make their job easier and simpler. So we have what we call as a safety championship programs every year. So we call it as safety celebrations. So the ones with no accidents are the ones who come up with any potential for accident incidents. We stop that before it's happening. So the drivers are a big part of that community in the safety management for us. And I think that this is where we forget about all the AI and other solutions. We only talk about the human behavior aspects here. So it is talking about emotional quotient, it's talking about empowering them, making them feel that they are a very important part of our business. They're not just moving materials within one place A to place B, but they are the one equally important as somebody in engineering or a quality or a production department. So that's what is our approach, a very human approach, and it has so far yielded very good results. So they're very happy with this kind of approach, and that is indirectly helping us to come with more technology implementation in a right way. So I'm happy about that. What we are doing here.
Thank you. So Thomas, I don't know what your perspective is in the DAF market. I mean, again, I'm interested to sort of get that what Adam was mentioning, that there can be praise as well as sort of criticism and sort of, correcting behavior, but there can be recognition of good behavior. And indeed, I think very interesting what Adam was saying, that if people have had a harsh braking, traditional systems would just say you braked harshly. Your systems, it sounds like, can say, well done, you braked harshly, because if you hadn't braked harshly and weren't really reacting quickly, you would have had an accident through no fault of your own. So sorry, I've been answering your question for you, but interested to hear all the different things that you're seeing there.
Yeah, it absolutely needs to be a combination of telling them what they could improve with a special wording. Obviously, you can't just blame people all the time and expect them to be happy and do stuff. And especially if they do something really well, you should somehow tell them about that as well, or maybe even ideally what we see a lot, and I think that's pretty much standard in the industry now. When you do a driver bonus program with gamification, they can add a bonus to their paycheck by actually behaving in a way that we want to promote. That's obviously always very helpful, because everybody wants to make a bit more money, and if at the same time you can be a bit safer driver, that works pretty well. I think that's the biggest leverage when you've introduced a system, to really get the buy-in, if they can make more money, and if you add a gaming component on top, because ultimately, even if it's maybe an anonymous ranking, because again, in Germany, very often we're not allowed to actually show the specific driver names in the ranking. Even if it's an anonymous driver, everybody wants to be on top. It's just like, I mean, there's a reason why sports is so popular and we're all watching sports, because ultimately everybody wants to be on top. So those are probably two components which help tremendously.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And Florian, interested, thinking about the whole drive behavior, is it getting to a point where the insurance market will actually reduce the premiums, for companies that are introducing solutions like this, even before the results come through, or is it a case you can do what you like as a customer, as an insurance customer, but until you prove that your accident rates have gone down, your premiums stay the same? I'm interested in how much the insurance industry is encouraging this actively.
Yeah, we get this question very often from our customers. If we install the Samsara systems or something like that, do we get, do we reduce our premium? The answer is always yes, but not directly, because it's in the fleet insurance, it's always based on the claims. So you never will have like a telematics premium or something like that. So it's every time based on the claims. And yeah, if you reduce your claims and reduce your claim costs, then for sure you get better premiums. And we also use it at our customers. You know, there are always some customers, with a not so good year. And when the insurer comes along and says, okay, next year we want to have 20% more of the premium, then we can say, okay, what about taking the same premium as the last year, but we go the way with Samsara. We install the systems in every vehicle, and we use the driver coaching. And this is something which is very interesting for the insurers. And so it's not directly, but you have a better premium.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. So we're sort of nearing the end of our time. So just perhaps running around very quickly. A final question for the four of you really is, what would be your advice? What's the first thing a fleet manager, a fleet operator should be doing, to be thinking about in terms of their driver behavior and accident rate? So perhaps Adam, starting with you.
Sorry, clicking the wrong button. Definitely just talking to suppliers, especially maybe ourselves, and looking at what you want to achieve, whether that's a reduction in incidents, improvement in behaviour, and talking it through from a true partner. I think there's lots of things we could say that are there, but definitely a technology-driven solution, not just a standard telematic solution. But yeah, just talk to suppliers, and especially come and talk to Samsara. So
okay,
that.
Fair advice.
Yeah.
Nanda, what would your advice be for companies thinking about this?
Yeah, you mean about the driver behavior, or in general about AI?
I guess about driver behavior. If
No, I think when it comes to driver behavior, my suggestion to listeners is to treat the drivers as the same as any other employees. So that means they also have the same kind of emotional cycles on a day-to-day basis. So their voice need to be heard. And also, when we are trying to introduce technology, we shouldn't make the driver burden with the technology. So we should make sure that the drivers feel that they are more, this technology helping them to better their work-life balance, kind of from a mental health state. So that's very, very important for any technology implementation, be it in logistics or any other department. So when we implement, so the human element is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nanda. Yeah, thinking about the end users of those systems is really important. Thomas, from your perspective in DACH region, apart from talking to Samsara.
Well, as I said earlier, I think one of the best first steps that somebody thinking about driver behavior or maybe implementing something like this is getting everybody on board. Don't just, yes, of course, talk to suppliers, but don't just go out and start a project and all of a sudden, also to Nanda's point, the driver just is there and he has a dash cam in his face. Try to get everybody on board as early as possible. That just tremendously helps the whole process.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, Florian, your advice.
Yeah, the colleagues told everything. I think, in our opinion, there's no alternative to AI dash cams. So it's very important, and that's the reason why we equip so many of our customers with these systems. And because of there's no alternative, it's only the way you handle it. And as Thomas said, you have to take your drivers with you. You have to be transparent. You have to install some bonus programs. I think without this, it's very difficult to get the drivers on board. And this is what I recommend every fleet manager, to be transparent, to plan a bonus program, and this is the important thing.
Great, thank you very much. Well, some fantastic agreement from all of you to finish there. So we are out of time now. So a reminder that our next episode is on next Wednesday, the 25th of Jan at 4 p.m, same time, and that'll be hosted by Chris Middleton. And the subject then is empowering your supply chain with end-to-end connectivity. So I look forward to you joining Chris and the panel next Wednesday. And really just finally to say thank you to my 4 guests, Nanda Kishore from Eramet Titanium and Iron, Thomas Becker from Samsara, Florian Weisch from Dittmeyer Insurance, and finally Adam Warren from Samsara. So thank you all 4 of you, and we look forward to seeing you at our next episode next week. Goodbye.